I just want to show you guys this. I dragged my whiteboard out because with this bag I was constantly having to refer back to the pattern all the time with doing the directional fabrics. So what I ended up doing is I pulled out my whiteboard, I wrote the finished size, and then I put the ones that were quilted and things here, and I wrote the sizes down, and that made it so much easier. I didn't have to keep going back to the bag pattern and referring back to it on like page 2. It was just so time consuming, so this here helped me out. So I just thought I'd show you guys that in case that was something that you might want to do just to make it a bit easier for you. Good morning, beautiful people. We are gonna do Power Trip. Now this one is one of the older patterns, so it doesn't have your cutting layouts like the other patterns do. Been trying to figure out a better way to explain to you guys how to go about doing it, and I came up with this. So you know in the back of your patterns how you have your little label cutouts and all that? So in the back of this one, right down the bottom, you will see a section that is boxed off, and it will have these ones. So you've got set A, B, C, and D, and then a little itty bit over to the side here for the handle stabilizer. Alright, so that's how it's a bit like that, right down the very bottom of the page. Now, what I recommend is looking at the size of each one of these. Cut out your soft and stable, your main fabric, and your lining in what this says. So each one of these, so do what it says, then you can quilt them, then you will have your sets, and from those sets is what we cut out our pieces. So from set A, you're going to cut out 2 zipper strips. These ones are already quilted, so you got your 2 zipper strips. From set B, you've got the bag front and back. I've just done a bit of simple quilting on here purely because of putting my badge on. Then from set C, you've got your inner pockets A and B. Set D is our pocket C, which is the pocket here, this front one, and the zipper strip. Now this zipper strip is, it's this bit here where the handle is. So that comes out of set D, and I put the emblem on the front of that pocket. Thank you very much for all your help, lovely ladies and gents. It was much appreciated. Lastly, as far as our soft and stable goes, there's the little piece for the handle. And in combination with the handle, you're just going to need to cut from your main fabric. You can use your lining or your coordinating, whichever way you want to do it, but just one piece of fabric for your handle, and it will tell you in your book there. Let me quickly, I think it's page 2. Yep, page 2, what size to cut for this handle fabric. Then we go on to coordinating. I'm not doing coordinating, I'm just using the 2. So lining and main. This is binding for pocket C. One of. This is a side strip binding. We need 2. Let's do that. There's the bias binding. I always do that ahead of time, as you guys know. As far as our mesh goes, we just need 2 pieces for pockets, inner pockets. For that, we need some fold over elastic, 3 of, and that is going to go down the center here. To hold things in place. This fold over elastic here is also just 2 pieces, and that is going to be binding on here. Other than that, the only other thing needed are our zipper. So this is the main one, and then there's 3 other slightly smaller ones. The only hardware is 5 zip pulls, and that's it. It's a relatively straightforward bag, to be honest. Minimal in everything. So yeah, all right, let's get down to it, eh? I'll move all this out of the way. So in the pattern on page 3, once you've done your bias binding, next up is prepare the handle. So we're going to take our handle fabric, just going to fold it in half, give it a good press, fold it in half again, give it a good press. Then it wants us to open it out and stick our handle in the middle. And I'm just going to, before I sew this, get it in the center as best I can there. Pull that side over, bring that side down, and then bring it up. Make sure you have equal distances on your ends here. Bring it over. Then we'll just take it to the machine and sew all 4 edges on that one. That'll be our handle done. After that, we need our side strip. And from the left hand side in, there's 4 measurements on page 3. Under 3, you'll have 3 measurements there, and that is just for our elastic. So we'll take our elastic and put it on the right hand side of those lines. And on our machine, we'll just go and sew 1/8 on each end of these. Nicely stitched down. Then what we want to do is measure. There's a measurement in step 3C. for the top one and the bottom one. We're just going to quickly sew that down there. Then we're going to flip to our main fabric side. If you've got directional, you're going to want to look at it and work out, you know, which way you want it. So mine's going to be like that. So I marked my line. You'll see on page 3 up the top right hand a measurement to mark down. This is going to be where we put our handle. I'm just going to align our handle below that line that we marked. You can do 1/8 down the side. Then we want to measure in. We're going to put a line, and that shows us where we can do our X to on each end. It will tell you in the book how far to measure in and mark your line and just do your X, your little box to seal it down. Here's the handle done. We've got our box on each one. There's the elastic sewn down. Okay, that can sit aside now. Next up, we're going to do our main zipper with the zipper strip. So you want your longest zipper. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit it all in. It's so big. There we go. We want it face down on the zipper strip. Measure so it has equal distance on each end here. Clip it down. And then we're going to sew it down, ladies and gents. Sew it all the way along. Give it it says in the book, generous 1/4 inch seam from the edge in. This side is all sewn down. Now what we want to do is fold it over like that. Then we'll just go and stitch down on the very edge of the tape. If you need to use the stiletto to push under this, and that's what we'll do along there. There it is, nicely sewn down all the way along. Now we just want to take our other one, place it face down. And just like that. Then I would go to the other end. Here we go. Then we're just going to sew this one down like we did the other one, and then flip it over and sew it down again, just like that. Here we go, everyone. Both sides are down, and I really should have changed out my thread before I did that one, but I wasn't thinking, and then I'm like, I couldn't be bothered. It's on the inside, it won't be noticed anyway. So that's totally done. Last thing to do on this now is to put our pulls on. So I put one on, and I'll go ahead and put the other one on for you guys. And we're getting a doozy storm picking up out here at the moment. So all I do is I separate my tape. I take my old scissors and I just clip a couple of teeth. Doesn't have to be many, usually 2, on an angle. And you see how you got that divot there? Then I just take my pull, support it in my fingers, and I put these teeth just in that little part there, where that part comes down on the side to grip the teeth. So it's not much, just a little bit. And because this is on an angle, that then allows for this one to pop straight in. I hold it, put it down, and it popped out on me. There we go. And then I just push it with my finger and it just goes straight on. So we'll pull that down. Now in the pattern it says that you can stitch around all 4 edges and then cut off our tape level on each end. I'm not going to bother stitching this edge down because of what I use, the double-sided foam that I use. It's similar to Soft and Staple, but it's adhesive on both sides, so the material is pretty well stuck down anyway. So I tend to not go around the edges. I'm just going to go across both ends here, and then that will prevent the pulls coming off. And then I'll just trim up that tape. Then we're going to be on to, oh sorry, yes that's right. And then the last step on this, prior to sealing your edges, sorry, silly me, we need to cut this down to a certain height. And that is on page 3. So there's a height there that we need to cut it down. What I suggest is, if you want to keep your zipper centered, divide that amount that you need to minus. If it's an inch, take 1/2 inch off this side, 1/2 inch off this side. If you're happy for your zipper to be like offset a little bit, then by all means, you know, if you want to take the inch off one side, and that will have it, you know what I mean, it will be bigger on one, so it'll be sort of kind of a little bit offset type of thing. If you want to do that, by all means go right ahead. I personally, I'm going to take equal amounts off each side. There we go, trim down, done my zips. So next we want to take our side strip with the handle and the zipper strip, and we're just going to go main fabric together, match them up, and then we'll sew across that there with a 1/4 inch. There we go. I've trimmed it down. So we're just going to take our side strip with the handle and our zipper strip, main fabric together. Make sure your zip pulls are up out of the way. Line them up. take it to the machine and sew that with a 1/4 inch seam. With that sewn down, we want to take our side strip binding and put it down on the zipper side. We'll go to the machine and we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam, 3/8 and 1/8 along there. Once we've done that, we're going to get it and go like this. And sew that down. I've got any wonder clips handy? At my machine. There we go. I'll fold that down. Can't see. There we go. And what we'll do is we'll just sew along the edge of that there. So looking at that, when you fold over your binding here, that stitch should land roughly in line with this here. So you're not going to impact on your handle there. Okay, so once you've done that, take your other end, line it up, sew it down with your 1/4 inch, and then take your other piece of binding, put it down, and do the 3 layers of stitching again on the zipper side, on this side, on the zipper strip. Once you've done that, then just fold it over like that. Sew that down on both sides. Here we go, all sewn down. Now I will retract what I said a minute ago about it falling along here. It actually is under the handle, so when I done it, I had it that way on my machine, but I had this pulled back like that. When I sewed that down that way, it didn't sew the handle down more. You can see there where it came, right there. So it's either, you know, you leave this looser, like you sew it back there, which means this won't be flattened as much as it should be, or you flatten it out and just move your handle aside when you sew it down. So it's like that. So both sides are done. We want to go ahead and mark the centers on this. This is now going to be called a zipper strip, I'm pretty sure. Zipper loop. Sorry guys, zipper loop. So we want to mark our centers. So to find the centers of our zipper loop, match up the seams that we just done, bring it out, put a pin, and the same with this side. Well, you've got it like that. Also put one on this end, and then down here on this end here. Once you've done that, make it go the other way match your pins down here. Come along, and then you'll get your centers there, and then come along this way. We'll set this one aside, these ones, and depending on how you're doing your bag, you know, work out whether or not you want this as your main or this is your main. Now I'm going to be doing mine where that's one of my front or back pieces, so I'm going to have that out, and it's going to be like that. So when you look on the inside, and these pockets cover it. So to show off this fabric, I'm going to have it the print instead of like that, because once you put the zipper on, you're not going to see any of this. So I'm going to have mine like that. So if you've got directional, work out which way is up. So for me it would be that way, and then take your zipper. It'll tell you in the pattern on page 4 what size zipper you need. Put it down like that, so a generous 1/4 inch along here, and then fold it back so it'll look like that. And sew that down to cover your raw edges under here. Do that with both A and B. There we go, lovely, it's both done. I'll set these guys aside. In the pattern, now it wants us to make our zip pulls, but I don't make the material zip pulls purely because I use the novelty ones. So you can do that if you choose. Then after that we're going to get our mesh pocket, which is, I'm pretty sure, D and E. Yep. And our fold over elastic. We're going to bind the top long edge with this, and how I do that is I'll put on the end there with a pin, and then I'll bring the other end up with a pin. I will stitch just a little bit of this, a couple of stitches, 2 or 3 stitches, back stitch. And because I've got it pinned here, I know exactly how much I need to stretch my elastic to fit the mesh, and I'll sew that down. So once I have a few stitches here, I can then apply the pressure, get it to go, you know, in the center of your elastic. It will fold down as I sew. I make sure it's in the correct place, and I'll sew that down, and then you know how much you need to stretch this so you don't over or under. You know, if you don't pin this other end or clip this other end and just do it as you go, you could end up overstretching your elastic and have elastic left over, or not stretching it enough to get to the end. So doing it this way helps eliminate that issue. So we'll do that on both of these 2 pockets. Now we want to get our binding for the pocket C on the front of our bag, and the little zipper, and the pocket C itself. This we can do one of 2 ways. We can put the zipper on first, stitch it down and then fold it to the back like we did with our others, and then bind the top of that zipper, or you can bind the zipper first, bind that down first, then attach it to your pocket. So what I do with my zippers when I bind them is I take my binding, I fold it in half initially, so just like that, and I'll iron it, get a really good crease in the middle, then I open it out again and fold each raw edge into the middle, crease that really well, and then that is when I take my zipper and put it in, and then I'll bind that down like that. So I think I'm going to bind this, I'll just get equal edge amounts, I'll move it over so I have equal amounts on each edge. I'll bind that down, then I'll stick it onto the front of the bag and sew that down. I just got to say one thing, guys. I forgot, when I cut the binding that I just showed for the zipper, I normally don't cut it to the size that's recommended in the pattern, and I realized when I showed just then how I do it when I have it folded, it comes, the reason I don't cut it to the size in the pattern is because it will come to directly on top of those teeth. So it'll be like, you know, you've seen it just then when I demonstrated it, it'll be right there. So I forgot about that, realized when I demonstrated just then, so I just went in and took off 1/4 inch. I'll now refold this to get my creases, and then I'll bind that. There we are, I'll put the binding on. Next step is to put on your zip pull, and then we're just going to take our bag front and put our pocket down, match your edges. I started from the right hand side and went down, across, up, and then across the top of my zipper tape with the binding on it there. And we just need to trim off our tape here, then we'll set this one aside. Next we want our 2 quilted pockets that we done with the zip tape. We'll take our mesh pockets, on page 5 there is a measurement. We're going to measure in from the left and draw our line from top to bottom. We'll put our mesh down, line it up and stitch down. You'll have to make a few pleats in it as you go. So I'm going to stitch down across the bottom, I'll come up and then I'll come back down. I'll do my few pleats in it again to bring it over, and then I'll come up this side. That's that one. On this one, they suggest in the pattern to make 2 divisions. So they're smaller divisions. I'm not gonna. I feel that would be a pain with the limited space trying to find something to fit in it. I would prefer to give myself the bigger space, and then I can put whatever I need in there, and I'm not limited on what I can put in these ones. So this one is just exactly the same as the other one. I'll put it down, I'll do my few pleats, I'll come up here, back down again, across the bottom and up the other side. Then we'll just trim off any excess that there might be. There we are, lovelies, all done. Stitched up and back. Alright, so I put my pulls on. Remember, put them on from the right hand side. Then I'm going to trim my zip tape You can do it that way, but I find it's not so stable with the zip, and then you've got like the extra thickness compared to here. So I flip it. Yes, you do still have the same thicknesses and everything, but for some unknown reason, the ruler for me will stay better. I don't know why. It just makes it easier. There we go. That is done. So next up, we want to take these pockets and attach them to our front and our bag back. Now it says that on page 5. The only thing I don't understand is, I'm going to read a little bit of this. It says, position the case front with the lining side up, ensuring that the zipper on pocket A, which is this pocket, is on the right hand side underneath. I don't get it when it's on the top. How can it be on the right hand side underneath? Because if you look in the thing, there's the bag. There's the pocket. There's the zipper at the top. Yes, when you open it, it opens out flat, but the zipper is still going across here. It's not changed to this way. So that confuses me, but it's irrelevant. I'm going to do it how I think it should be done. So this is your bag front. You're going to turn it, because when you open your bag, it's going to flop that way. When we look at the picture, oh, sorry guys, I bonked yous again. Sorry, I shouldn't have put that book away. When we look at the picture here, we can see the mesh pocket openings are towards the outside, so therefore the zipper must be up here and up here for that quilted pocket. So I'm going to put my quilted pocket like that, because that's how it should be given that picture. So that is going to be one. And we just line up the bottom and the sides. And I was looking at this earlier, and I was thinking, because of that gap up here, you know, hang on, let me line it properly. There was a little bit of a gap, smidgen, and I was thinking to cover this, I would sew it down that way, right on the edge there, and then bring it back and sew it down. But then I remembered, after fiddling around with that for a little bit, that when we sew on our zipper loop, that's within the 1/4 inch seam. Oh, we used 1/8 seam allowance along here too, guys. That's within our 1/4 inch. So you're not going to see it. You won't see that. It'll get caught. So there we go, they're lined up. So I'll stick a few more clips on that, but not right now, on your time. And I'll come down the side, across the bottom, up the other side, and then across the top on that one. That's right. So we'll just line this one up again. Stick a few clips on, take it to the machine and sew down all 4 sides. They are both done. Nicely sewn on. And I was thinking about it too when I was sewing it, and this gap here, which is like tiny, that would depend on what margin you sewed your zipper on at. So if I'd sewn that on, instead of being, a generous 1/4 inch, if I'd sewn that on, say, 1/4, then I wouldn't have had that gap. But that's all right, because like I said, it'll be covered. So we just want to trim our ends on our zip tape. Then we want to find our centers on our bag, on the sides and top and bottom. I just put them on my mat, measured it and found it that way instead of trying to bend it in half. Being so bulky would make it harder to bend, especially this one here. Next up, we're going to round our corners. There we've got the rounded corners. It's fast disappearing. So I'll get in and I'll cut those real quick. Nicely rounded. Now you can get in and stitch down those curves if you like. Totally up to you. If someone interprets that part of the pattern that I read out about attaching these pockets to the bag front differently, can you please let me know in the comments? Because the way I read it and sort of understood it, I read it a few times because I'm like, okay, that just doesn't make sense to me. But if I misinterpreted it, can you please let me know in the comments, guys? I would really appreciate it. So now that the corners are all rounded, guys, we want to match up our centers. So I just clipped where the centers are on here. And what I'm going to do is you make sure your flat part is down because we're going to have the bag front on the bed of the machine. So what I'll do is I'll go to my corners. I'll put my finger under, pull it out, hold it, and put my clip on. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to make sure our handle is on the bottom of our gathered pocket. So the zipper is on the right hand side and this is the bag front. Okay. So flip it over and there's our handle. So I'll go to the next corner, put my fingers under, making sure I grab the lining, bring it up to the corner and clip. Alright, so I've got all my clips down. Now if your machine struggles with the thickness, then I highly recommend you get your clips and you clip them so they're nearly touching all the way around like that. Make sure this part of your clip, the very front, is where you want it flattened, Because if you put it right in like that, then it's going to flatten down up here, but it's not applying pressure down here. So make sure you have it where you want the pressure applied. And then I would leave that for a good 24 hours. Now if you wanted to, because you're waiting, and then you've got your other one that you're going to clip as well, so then that's another, day. So to combat that, you could put it on, clip it, then when you go to sew, I will show this in a minute, but we'll just open it out, and then that will make it easier to sew. So it just eliminates having to wait twice, that's all. So again, remember that the handle is at the bottom of your gathered pocket. There we go, everybody, all sewn down. And what I suggest is you go around and just check that everything is actually down and caught. So what we might do now is bind this one. There we go, binding is done. But we are not going to look too closely at this because it is my worst ever binding job. But it's done because I'm getting frustrated. I've spent far too many days on this already. So I think that is what is annoying me. But anyway, we will get down to the last piece. So again, we'll repeat what we just done. Make sure though, remember, where the handle is where the bottom of your gathered pockets are got to be. Okay, so we'll get in and clip this one down, join it up, and then we'll bind this one. Alrighty, lovelies, there we go. It is all clipped down, and what I recommend is opening your zipper. That will make it more manageable to sew. You're not going to have to be dealing with the bulk of this as well. So I got it sewn on, and I've got the binding sewn down once, like on the edge. And I just wanted to show how I do my joining. I haven't shown it in a while, so I thought I'd show it. 1 second. That's better. I just had to undo it a bit. I'd sewn it up a bit too far. So the way I do it is I take, you've already cut it, and you know how to cut it. You cut the tail the same distance as the width of your binding. So if it's 2 inches, you cut 2 inches at the join. If it's 2 1/4, you cut 2 1/4. Then I take the left hand one, I open it out, and I just take that up, get a nice 90-degree angle, and you see what I did there? I just took it up on a 90-degree angle and put a crease in it. So then you're going to take your right hand side, and you're going to need to fold this, and I'll put a clip in it later. So you've got it, you bring this one up, lay it straight on top, put your hand in and grab it, and there you have it done correctly. And then you just sew it from this corner straight down. And then that will fold in nicely and give you your binding. But it won't be twisted, it will be the right way up and everything. It's a bit hard to manipulate because the way I have this camera set up, on the side. Fold up. There we go. Hang on, I'll put a clip in it. There we go. So I clipped that up to make it easier to manage that. So I'll undo those. I stuck some pins in it. And now it will fold down. So you see, once it's sewn, beautiful. And then you just put it down, sew it down, and then fold it over. So that's how I do my joins. It was a bit easier to manage, to show with the Easy Does It bag that I did. It was easier to show it on that one, but I hope you guys were able to see what I done there. So again, I just have it like that. Bring this, open it out, fold that up into a 45-degree angle, like that. Bring this one over, make sure it's not twisted. Just lay it straight on top. Pinch those two together, bend that up, and then that is perfect. So then you just sew it straight down on the diagonal from that corner to that corner. Cut off your excess, and that will have your binding joined. All done, guys. Look at that. Not going to look too closely at the binding. It is the worst I have ever done. Even on my very first one, it was not even that bad. So I will do this bag again and do the binding better, but it had just already taken up so much time to do this when it shouldn't have. It was a very quick and easy bag, technically. It shouldn't have took the time it took, but it did, unfortunately, due to a lot of interruptions and things that had to get done. So yeah, it's done. There's your quilted pockets and your gathered pockets, quilted pocket again, and your gathered. And then when we've got your little parts here too where you can strap things down, and we'll go and close it up. And we have the quilted pocket on the front. Beautiful. Handle, the back. Alright. So I would like to say thank you everybody for joining me on this. Also a big shout out to Linda. Thank you very much for the membership. I really appreciated it. And I'm going to get started on that bag today as soon as I get this video finished. Well, it's finished, but I've got to get uploaded. But I'll be starting on that bag today. So thank you everybody for joining me. Please guys, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Feel free to share. And I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget, I do have memberships now. If you guys are interested, I will be getting content up on the membership section. I'm going as fast as I can at the moment. And I also got awesome news. I had an appointment today with my specialist, and so far from the surgery I had in July, no cancers returned. So that is absolutely awesome, because what's been happening this past year, since August last year, is every time I was having surgery and then I go back in for my checkup a couple of months later, I have more cancer. And so far this one, last surgery, there's none there. So I just have my other specialist. I know I do have a surgery coming up with him. I am hoping, if he hasn't told me when he plans to do it, but if he tries to do it this year, I'm going to ask him politely if he can wait until next year, because to tell you the truth, the last 12 months I've had enough. So I would like him to wait until next year with that one. And then that way I can get more ready for when it does happen and I am out of action. I can have, things there for you guys. So, yeah. But anyway, like I said, thank you very much for joining me, guys. I do sincerely appreciate it. And I'm going to say goodbye. I don't think I've said it in many videos, but my name is Kylie, and I am in Queensland, Australia. So thank you, guys, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.